Happy Thursday, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another Tech Talk. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about recovery and injury prevention. Tech Lead Coaching mission is to help develop community-focused paddlers and leaders and to provide mindset, technique, and coaching talks to support you with your goals. On the agenda today, we're going to cover common paddling pains, preventative exercises that you can do to help you stay away from those pains, recovery habits that you can build to make sure you stay in tip-top shape, and also an idea as to when to push and when to rest, and a few key reminders on that. We're going to talk a bit about common paddling pains and what's most common in paddling happens to be in the upper body, right? Usually it's on the rotator cuffs tend to be coming from a lot of the top arm drives. So whenever you use your shoulders or use your arms to drive down on the stroke, over time and over a lot of pressure, it could end up causing rotator cuff issues. And if you hear of people who needed surgery or needed just to rest that shoulder, it's usually coming from a paddling technique that might be putting a lot of strain on the shoulders. So rotator cuff is a big part of it. You also get people with tendonitis. That's usually like elbow, tennis elbow. People usually get the pain right around here. I know that when we paddle, if the arm is too bent and there's a lot of driving with the elbow, that can create a lot of pain that can come onto the elbows. And then people who paddle erg as well, because the paddle erg is so heavy on the resistance, oftentimes we drive down a lot with our arms and it could end up with a lot of tendonitis right here. A way to fix the tendonitis, unfortunately, is just rolling it out and resting it. And figuring out how to improve the technique so that it doesn't strain it as much. And another common upper body pain is the forearms getting really tight. And that has to do with usually when you're paddling and you're trying to grip it and you have this death grip on the paddle. You don't want to have a death grip on the paddle because you're essentially going to be flexing the entire time. You want to make sure you have a relaxed recovery. And then I also know that sometimes when people bend their wrist too much, it can create strain on the forearm as well as the wrist. And so those are things to watch out for the upper body. In general, the back also tends to be a place where paddlers get really sore. And it makes sense, right? You're sitting and a lot of your movement is from the upper body. It's rotation, it's driving down. Some people are just hinging, right? So if you're just hinging, it'll be the lower back, right? But in terms of the upper back, you're looking at possibly upper shoulder pain. You're looking at maybe middle of the back shoulder pain, mostly from driving down from your stroke. If your paddle is too short, you'll tend to have to stay lower to the water and you'll create some lower back pain. When you hinge, there will also be some lower back pain as well. Over time, if you're able to practice the hinge, stretch out the hinge, then you should be able to get stronger. But oftentimes, if you haven't hinged before, and then the coach says, now you got to add it in, the first few weeks may be pretty rough, mainly because now you're using your lower back, which will then cause some soreness, right? Hinging is important in taking the stroke and then connecting it with the whole body. In terms of the back, there's also a possibility of muscle imbalance. So if you're on dragonboat and you paddle only on one side, you're probably going to overdevelop one side of your body, the side that you paddle on, right? If you're on the outrigger, you do switch sides, but if you end up favoring one side over the other, or you tend to be stronger on one side, just know that there's potential for muscle imbalance, which could then lead to some pain, right? So if someone's uneven like this, it'll lead to different sorts of pain down the road. All right, so that's in terms of the back. In terms of the core and the hip, there are some common pains as well, right? Most noticeably, on the outrigger, if you're paddling on the single on your own and you're not super balanced, you'll notice that the first few months you might be leaning left quite a bit, right? As you're paddling, you feel like your left leg goes numb. That's part of the imbalance and needing to be more balanced on the outrigger, right? So those are a common pain that can happen on the outrigger as well as on the dragonboat. Hip flexors are also a very common paddling pain where due to hinging as well as due to maybe, I guess it would be tight hamstrings, because you're trying to reach forward. Coaches always tell us to get forward. It really puts a strain on your hip flexors. And so making sure that you are able to stretch that out beforehand. Your obliques from crunching down as you derotate will end up with a lot of strain, as well as your IT band, which then it connects to you hinging forward and back. The more strength that you're using, you're going to be putting a lot of tension on those IT bands. You're going to be putting a lot of tension on your hip flexor. You're going to be putting a lot of tension on your hamstrings and your muscles. And so all of those things could lead to pain if we don't properly stretch it and we don't properly recover from it. Right. So those are some of the common pains that I wrote out in terms of upper body, your back, and your core and your hip. Of course, this is not an exhaustive list. There are so many more pains that can happen, but these are the most noticeable ones that I feel like we can have ways to prevent them. All right. So in terms of preventative exercises, I think we all know what are some of the things that we could do. I pull this picture off of the internet where I'm really big on making sure your back, your arms, your hips are all stretched out before you go to your workout. And then afterwards, also doing it again to make sure you are in good shape. So in terms of preventative exercises, when we talk about the back, right, and the shoulders, it's very important that we do exercises and warm-ups that will help get our shoulders ready for the motion that we're about to do, right? Paddling, if you're doing a 90-minute practice, you're probably taking somewhere between maybe 3,000 strokes, maybe 5,000 strokes, right? That's a lot of repetitive motion that if your shoulder is not ready for it and you go right into it, could lead to a lot of pain. In terms of shoulders, band pull aparts, like you see here, I have a band here, right? These are just these exercise bands that you can use, right? You're just gonna put the band in front of you and you're gonna pull them apart. These are really good for activating your shoulders. And if you don't have a band yet, I really recommend you get one of these red ones. It's probably 10 to 20 pounds of weight, depending on how far you pull. They're very good because they're very versatile, right? You can use it for up top and down here. You can use them for push and pull, all of those things, right? So shoulders, band pull aparts is one example. There is also band YTWLs, and these are different motions that you can do that will help you with opening your shoulder. Y is like this. You're going to have the band above you. These are Y, right? T's are going to be in front of you. You're going to open it like this. T, W, you're going to be on the side like this, opening up W. And then L's, you're going to be like this, and you're just going to open one side all the way out. And then the other side, you're going to make an L. I'm not super flexible, but these are the exercises that you want to do to get your shoulders to internally rotate and all of those motions so that your shoulders are ready for all the motions that you're going to do when paddling. Your core is also super important because that's where you draw the power and then push through with your legs. So in terms of the core, you're looking at bird dogs. So here, this is a cat cow. For bird dog, you're going to be on this position. You're going to lift up your right arm and your left leg at the same time, and you're going to balance. You're going to put them back down. Then you're going to do your left arm and your right leg. And this is really good. It's important to do it slowly, quality over quantity, to make sure you're really keeping your core tight and stable. That's really the whole point of it, not to do it fast. It's not about the reps. It's about the quality of making sure your core is tight while you're doing that. There's also Palos press, which I can use with a band. The idea is that you're going to have a pressure pulling you to one side. So I might put this, attach it to something, and then I'm going to be having my hand like this with the weight pulling me this way. And then I'm going to bring it in, push it back out, bring it in, push it back out. And the idea is there are links online for these kind of exercises. They're really good to do before you get on the water. And I know that sometimes we don't have time and we're on a time crunch and we don't do them, but it'll be good to get a routine going, maybe a list of 6 exercises that you'll do before you get on the water that will help activate the right muscles. Another one for the core is just the good old plank. You can do them with arms extended or you can do them on your elbow. Either way, the goal is to get your core to be activated, all right? And then overall, mobility work is important. When we talk about mobility, I'm talking about making sure your hips are open, right? So you're gonna, if you see soccer players, they lift their knees up and then open their hips, come back down, open up their hips and move over to open up their hips. All right. There's also continue with these thoracic mobility work. If you guys don't have a lacrosse ball yet, right, these are really good for rolling out the knots and also making sure your muscles are ready for the work that we're about to do. Shoulders, pecs here, forearms, all the legs, all of the muscles that you will be ending up to use. It's good to have a lacrosse ball or a roller to really get all those muscles ready to go. All right. There's also single leg stability work where you stand on one leg, maybe with a dumbbell. You can reach down. All of these things are important to get your body ready. In terms of recovery, this is after your paddle. You can see that during, there's a stretch here, right? In terms of recovery, after a very hard workout, maybe on a certain day, I like to add on an active recovery. And when we say active recovery, the idea is that you're doing something that's going to keep you moving, that's going to get you going with a light sweat, but it's not taxing, right? You're going to recover by doing a little bit of movement. And sometimes it might feel counterproductive, but it's actually very important that your body keeps moving so that it can get some stimulus, but not so much that it then has to recover even more. Right. So a light paddling session is something that I like to do 45 to 60 minutes at 80%, right around there where it's like a good sweat, but not too hard. You can also swim, walk, jog, do mobility, do yoga. You can even lift a little bit of weight. All of those things are great, but again, keep it at a light percentage, right? 70 to 80% for active recovery. And then mobility work, that's with the lacrosse ball, foam roll. If you have a massage gun, that's great. And then ice heat application. I'm thinking you've seen people do ice plunges and things like that. Those are all, and then going to sauna. Those are all great ways to get your body to recover after a hard workout. And then it's important that you have a recovery protocol. So before practice, before the session, having 6 exercises that you do. I would say after practice, you should have 6 exercises that you do that you stretch out every time. So you have a post-training protocol in terms of stretching. And then in terms of recovery after you go home, we're talking about sleep optimization, making sure you get a good amount of sleep, looking at 8 to 7 to 9 hours of sleep after your workout. Nutrition, making sure you eat enough protein after your session, making sure you actually do eat. Sometimes after races or after a big event, we might not eat. You want to make sure you eat. And then hydration, making sure you drink electrolytes, water, and stay away from sugary drinks and stay away from alcohol. So those are all important things to do for hydration, nutrition, and sleep optimization to help you with your recovery. In terms of when to push and when to rest, here are some of my push indicators. If you're feeling like, man, I got great sleep, you want to capitalize on that great sleep, and you should try to get a good workout in and push a little harder than you normally would. If you're feeling pretty positive, you're like, man, I woke up and I feel great, you should do it. And if you're mentally fresh, you're feeling really great, those are push indicators. Rest indicators would be if you're feeling like in the morning, if you wear your watches or you get a heart rate check every morning, if your morning heart rate is super elevated, or if your HRV, from the watches is super low, those are indicators that you might want to take it easy. If you slept poorly, if you didn't sleep at all, if you pulled an all-nighter, if you're unusually sore, if you're tired, those are all rest indicators that you want to not ignore. So in terms of key reminders, right, just making sure prevention is better than cure. So you want to make sure you are not getting to the point where your shoulder hurts so much that you got to stop training for weeks to fix it, right? It's better that you kept something going, have something consistent that will keep your shoulders fresh and ready to work, as opposed to coming up with being knocked out for 2 weeks. You want to listen to your body, right? As much as I program for paddlers, right? If the body is saying it's not feeling good, it's not happening, then we can make adjustments. It's good to push, but most times it's not good to push too much, right? So listen to your body, make the adjustments. It's better to get better first and then push, right? As opposed to pushing through it and then delaying how long you'll be out for. It's most important to have consistent maintenance, meaning have that pre-practice session, that protocol that you have, those 6 exercises, and also do your post-practice 6 exercises so that it's consistent, making sure you consistently maintain your well-being. Progressive loading is also important. When we talk about progressive loading, the idea is that you don't want to go from not having exercise off season, come back from vacation, and then you jump right into huge sprints, 2 hour paddles, 3 hour paddles, all out. Progressive loading means you take it step by step. You do 30 minutes now, then an hour 30, then 2 hours. Like it, depending on what your goal is, you want to progressively get longer and longer on those paddles. This is something that I think is very important. After a break, so depending on how long you were out for, expect it to take 50% of the break duration to return to normal. So an example is if I took a 1 week vacation or I had to be out for 1 month, take half of that, which is 2 weeks, expect 2 weeks to get back to where you were a month ago, right? And that's usually the metric that I use to guide myself, knowing that, hey, if I was out for a month, it's not realistic to expect to come back to where I was a month ago right away. Take the 2 weeks to progressively get up back up there. And then from 2 weeks on, then you'll be able to continue with your plan. And then important that you communicate with your team, especially on dragonboat teams and on outrigger teams, that depending on how your body's feeling, where there are pain, etc., making sure that you communicate that with your coaches early on, communicate it with your teammates early on so that there's no surprises and that people can watch out for you as needed. All right, so I have a paddling school community online. If you join today, it's 7 day free trial. You'll win prizes at the end of every month, and you'll get weekly workouts from me, as well as access to courses about paddling. And please get in before prices go up. And here's the link. Thank you all for tuning in today to this Tech Talk. Thank you. If that was valuable to you, please drop a comment, drop a like, or share it to a friend that you think will benefit from this. Thank you so much for tuning in.